angels, welcome back to my channel. Today I have an unboxing for you, a deck that took quite a while to get to me overseas. It is the Carte Postale Tarot. Now the Carte Postale Tarot is a vintage collage art deck utilizing old Edwardian and Victorian postcards, photographs, and art. As you can see, it was packaged with care. This that I'm holding in my hand, I could definitely use all this packaging for some mixed media work. But you see, the creator, who is a small creator, just packaged everything so beautifully. It's a wonderful matte magnetic box, as you can see here, and the artwork is just gorgeous. And the inside does not disappoint. Now the cards are regular tarot size, and there is no edging or gilding. And as you can see, these beautiful backs are reminiscent of old wallpaper. So why don't you say we turn these beautiful cards around and take a deeper look. So I hope you enjoyed that musical flip through of the Carte Postale Tarot. Now, I tried to find the full name of the creator, but her name is Jane, and that's all I found on the website. And I will leave a link to her website so you could read all about her process and how she created the deck. It's quite interesting. First of all, I just wanted to point out really quickly the beautiful backs again. It looks like vintage wallpaper. The cardstock is a wonderful matte, super matte, and you know, non-glossy at all, and the edges are not gilded, which I'm fine with. I'm over especially the metallic gilding, but if this were done really well with some bronze, I think a bronze gilding would be really pretty, and if it wore off, it could patina really beautifully, but I am totally fine with no gilding. And you know what, I may end up edging this myself with maybe some tea-stained coloring. But okay, back to the deck. Now this deck is very RWS adjacent, follows the RWS system pretty closely, except you'll see the Fool veers off, doesn't have the traditional imagery as we're used to seeing for a Fool card. But if you are a beginner and you want to learn by the RWS system, this would be a good deck that you could learn. It does follow it pretty closely. Now you will notice right off the bat, there is not going to be any real diversity. These images, what I can tell, a lot of them are theatrical portraits of old actors from the Victorian, Edwardian age. So you're not going to see a lot of diversity. And the creator acknowledges this on her website, though we do get two lovers cards right here, as you can see. This, what she's done here, kind of reminds me of what's done in the Dreammaker's Tarot, the Dreamkeeper's Tarot, but you do get some options here. Now, she addresses the lack of diversity on her website, and I'm just going to read really quickly. She says that 97% of the postcards and the images she used are from Europe, mainly from Estonia, Latvia, Sweden, Finland, Germany, Russia, France, and Holland. So the searchers of ethnic diversity, there is little to none of the postcards available of the type, and the majority of the ones that are definitely not flattering, and I am not using such imagery for sure. She goes on to say, admittedly, there are some few beautiful ones as well as I am lucky to have. I'm holding those ones for upcoming decks. She says she's a mix of Slav and Nordic born, and she's raised in Estonia. So I can tell from what she's written here, of course, English is not her first language. But she says she does speak, her mother tongue is Estonian, but she also speaks Russian, Finnish, English, and she's currently learning Spanish. And the creator says that she has been a collector of postcards and vintage imagery for a long time now, and that she lost a great deal of her collection in a house fire several years ago. So that must have been heartbreaking. I love this sun card. It's a beautiful arabesque by a dancer of yore. I can't tell from the profile who it is. Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's nice not to see, you know, a naked baby. The creator says that most of these images were black and white, and she did color them and she photoshopped them, either to take certain things away from the original image or to add certain things to make it fit, you know, the RWS tarot system. This Four of Swords is so beautiful, and I love the tinting that she did in this. I'm looking at this Five of Swords, and look at the the underhanded way. He's got him while he's going over the top for his point, I guess, or for the kill. But I'm looking at these uniforms and I think they date earlier than the First World War. And if you see, there's a very ghostly face, an onlooker here. I don't know if that was added in or if this is in the original photograph, but it is very eerie. Beautiful Six of Swords. And as you can see, yes, a good deal of these I think are theatrical portraits or from theatrical productions, actors and actresses of the time, performers. You can tell from the costumes. And then here for the Nine of Swords, we've seen this. I have a couple of decks with this image, but it's a perfect Nine of Swords. Actually, you know what? She's in real danger. It's not just mental anguish. Of course, she is experiencing mental anguish, but look at the rats. Look at the water coming up. So she's in a real pickle right here. Ten of Swords. I love this Page of Swords. Again, you can tell it's from a theatrical production. It's like she's saying, I smite thee with my sword. There's probably another person lying down here, which was maybe taken out of the original picture. I don't know. I think the creator does have the history of the deck in the photos she chose on her Patreon. But there is no guidebook for this deck. This is a pretty severe Queen of Swords, but it works for me. And I love this King of Swords in his, it almost looks, now she says she used, I listed the country she used, but it almost looks like old Highland garb to me, but the top doesn't. So I don't know. Some of these images remind me of what you would find in the Vintage Wisdom Oracle. I think that would be a wonderful pairing for this deck. I first discovered this deck. It was not on my radar, and I first discovered it on Lisa Pappas's channel in one of her videos, decks I'm not going to get, or decks, you know, that are leaving my collection. And she mentioned this deck, and I've been trying to stay off of Kickstarter and Etsy and Amazon, just trying to, you know, slow down a little bit on the deck consumption. But when I saw this deck, and you know, there's very few pictures of the cards, but I went on the website, I saw it, and I knew I had to get it. Because as you know, I'm a fan of these sorts of decks, and I love this picture of, it looks like a old steeplechase event. Oh my gosh. I could never do that. I love this Queen of Wands because we have a photo here, because you know, in old photographs we usually don't see people showing their teeth, and here we do. And she has a perfectly beautiful and luminous smile here. And part of that is due to, you know, maybe people viewed as getting their likeness taken as a solemn event. But also here we've got another smile here too, open mouth smile. I love this Ace of Cups, literally in a cup. Also how long it took. You had to sit there before, you know, those old cameras could take the actual likeness. It's a beautiful Three of Cups. Now, two of my favorite decks in this genre are the Relative Tarot by Carrie Paris and the Antiquarian Tarot by Marie Bento. Oh, and also the Stretch Tarot by Joseph E. Stretch. I don't know where this is gonna fall in that mix. I really don't. I could see in some ways it could become a favorite. I don't know. I'm going to have to give extensive time to this deck and see how it speaks to me and how we dialogue together. I have named, because I have, you know, quite a few decks in this genre, old photographs, old vintage art. I have named quite a few of my decks, and that's after developing a relationship with them. They've become like an old friend and they have a certain voice. Even though they're in the same genre, the way they speak to me is a little bit different. And so when that voice becomes clear, I name my decks, and I might do a video on that. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see a video of that. Here, I'm 99.9% sure that is Mark Twain. What was his real name? Samuel Clemens. Writer name is Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's him. But I think the collage work, as in those other decks that I've mentioned, is done so beautifully. And you can see you've got the infinity symbol, the lemniscate here on her arm, photoshopped. As much as I love old art decks, I have an easier time developing a relationship with the photographs, the old photographic decks, because you can really see a real person who lived in flesh and blood, so to speak, a one-dimensional image, but you can see their faces. I mean, this is not a depiction or an artist's rendering. This is, capturing a snapshot of the past, an event, though again, some of them are theatrical portraits, but they're portraying a character. I mean, look at this for the 6 of coins. And I believe this is like a real capture. I don't know if this is a posed photograph for any reason. And when I saw this 7 of coins, the phrase "make hay while the sun shines," and I remember that because that's a chapter in one of Laura Ingalls Wilder's books. Was it The Long Winter? Yeah, or On the Banks of Plum Creek, or By the Shores of Silver Lake. One of those 3, I think there was a chapter, "Make hay while the sun shines." Let me know in the comments below if you know. I appreciate this 8 of coins. This master, is he making a Stradivarius violin? Using his compass, his measuring, it has to be so precise in making a musical instrument, especially a violin. I wonder if he's making a Stradivarius. And I think it's a perfect depiction of the 8 of coins, perfecting your craft. Yeah, you can see definitely Eastern European here with the depiction. Yeah, so sometimes you just got to know and take it with a grain of salt that these type of decks, this genre of deck, doesn't have a lot of diversity. Now, the Relative Tarot by Carrie Paris does, and the one by Marie Bento, the Antiquarian Tarot, does do a better job of showing diversity. Depending on your preferences, that could absolutely be a strike against this deck. I think production-wise and just what she's done, the skill of the production, the photoshopping, and just the tinting, I think helps in bringing these images to life. Now, if you see, let's go back. I think this 4 of Swords was beautifully tinted. And if you see with, one of these old photographs that I have a small collection of these, you can see how it really does bring it to life. Though this is more Victorian, this is either This is mid-Victorian. This looks to be late Victorian or Edwardian. You can just tell from the dress styles. Let's just do a little bit of a shuffle. Oh yeah, there's no problem. This is really smooth cardstock. There's no clumping. It's really, really nice. It's sturdy. There's a core. There seems to be a core in it. There should, for those of you who like to riffle shuffle, you'll have no problems. It's standard tarot size, so somebody with small hands like me can easily handle this deck. Very nice. I pulled out a few decks in my collection, a few oracle decks that I would probably start playing with and pairing with this deck. And yes, some of them are very, very obvious. So the first is the Vintage Wisdom Oracle by Victoria Mosley. So yes, this is an obvious choice right here, as you can see. And I think I did see images in this tarot deck that could be in this one, but you see how seamlessly these two would pair together. Another obvious pairing would be the Divine Muses Oracle by Marie Bento. So the Vintage Wisdom was a mass market deck, easily available. Divine Muses is an indie oracle deck, and look at how perfect that works together. But see, very, very beautiful. I believe Marie Bento is coming out with a new oracle deck called The Magical Child. And if you all are going to Newt's, I think she's going to have her prototype there. So I'm jealous, but I know I'll definitely be getting that deck. But you can see what a beautiful, beautiful pairing this would be if you happen to have this deck. And this deck, I believe, is still available. Sometimes Marie Bento's decks come in and out of print, but I believe this one's still available. If you have any of the decks by Leela and Olive, those would go beautifully with this deck. I have the Maiden Oracle and the Pythia Botanica Oracle here. And as you can see, either one of these would be wonderful, wonderful pairings for the Carte Postale. If you want to add a botanical deck, and these old botanical decks are perfect things to pair with these old photographic decks. Yeah, I think I'll have a lot of fun playing with these two in conjunction with this deck. And this Emperor reminds me of Father Christmas. Now, these next two are little mini decks, and they are more modern imagery. They're not photographic decks, but I thought that they might work, and they are When My Soul Whispered by US Games, mass market deck, and the Earthbound Oracle by Skull Garden. And this one is an indie deck. I do love a little pocket-sized oracle sometimes. And I just thought anything nature-based, botanical-based, I think would work wonderfully with this type of deck or this genre deck. Even if you don't have the Carte Postale, maybe if you have the Relative Tarot or something else, you might think of pairing something like this if you have either of these or something like it. Roots and Wings is another one that I would probably pair with this. These three go together very well. Yeah, I think these could easily work. Along those same lines, we have the Coastal Curiosities Oracle deck by Lennox Reese. Now, the second edition of this deck recently ended on Kickstarter. Well, maybe it's been a few months. I did order the extra cards that are going to be, that are going to be added to the second edition, but she made it available where you could order a pack which are going to have the same backs. as the first edition. So I went and did that. But as you can see, yeah, again, a nature deck of any kind, I think, would be a good pairing with this deck if you are so inclined. Yeah, the colors and everything match beautifully. And if you have the Memento Mori Lenormand and Oracle deck by Claire Goodchild, of course, I think this would be an obvious choice. There's lots of expansion packs for this deck too that have been available. And even if you just have, you know, one of those expansion packs, those would work as well. As you can see, I mean, you can't get more perfect as far as color. If that's important to you. Again, botanical decks, I think, are just, would be a hit. Any botanical deck. I have The Language of Flowers here by Sherilyn Darcy, and I have Botanical Inspirations by Lynn Arohu. Either one of these would be wonderful. Now, of course, I'm just talking about pure aesthetics, you know, if that's important to you, but the proof is in the pudding. I haven't, of course, paired any of these or tried to read with them together, but I think, you know, I think when it comes down to it, whatever you have in your collection, I have way fewer Oracle decks than I have tarot. So, you know, even if they don't match aesthetically, you know, they'll still work. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, you know. You use what you have and you make do with what you have, and it'll work. You'll get the messages you need, whether, you know, thematically, aesthetically, they match or not with your tarot decks. And just going along with what I just said, that it doesn't matter if your cards match thematically or aesthetically. They could totally be different eras, like this pairing here. This is Pear Tree Court by YouTube's Danny Mystic. This is a wonderful, wonderful deck. And I even pair this with modern decks, with modern imagery. And you can see where, as the imagery is more Victorian, Edwardian here, we've got Georgian and even some Regency. There's some Regency depictions in this deck. But it will totally work. Oh, I like the way the Ten of Wands and Patience. See? You'll get the messages that you need to get, regardless of what Oracle deck or deck pairings that you use with the beloved tarot deck. Again, look at how this pairs Logic and the Five of Swords. And I think that's a wonderful pairing if this came up in a reading. Again, oh my gosh, Six of Coins and love, giving what you have with a heart full of love. That would be a wonderful message to get, don't you think? Oh my gosh, I'm just totally loving these two together. So to wrap up, sadly, there is no guidebook at this time for this deck, but I think even if you're a beginner-ish, if you have a good grasp of the RWS system, you'll totally be able to read with a deck like this. Production value is just beautiful for, you know, a very, very small creator. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, that this deck does come in 2 iterations. There is this iteration, you know, factory manufactured, that comes with this nice magnetic closure box. But there is also a handmade version that the creator will create for you. It is more money. The backs will be different, and the deck will not come in a hard box. I think it may come in a, you know, a nice bag or something, but it will have a handmade quality. You know, some of the edges will probably not be cut perfectly, but it could be a very, very special keepsake, and I'm considering it at some point. Now, if you saw in my opening, in my intro, that the decks are numbered. And she does say that there's only 500 that she's printed of these. And then once it's gone, it's gone. And then she's gonna, maybe in 2025, I think, you'll have to look at her website, that she'll come out with a second edition or another edition of this deck. I got, does that look, I can't really tell, deck 112 out of 500. Does that look like 112 to you? It took about 3 weeks, about 3 weeks for me to get it from overseas. And this deck in American dollars at the time was about $70-ish, I want to say. And then to ship it was about somewhere between $16 and $18 for shipping. So it is an investment if you are here in the States. And the homemade one, the handmade deck, is, oh gosh, was it 110 euros, I want to say? So roughly 110, 112 dollars here in the US, and then top that with shipping. So yeah, it is an investment, but I have a good feeling about this deck. I think I'm going to develop a personal relationship with it as I have my other collage photographic old art decks. We'll see though. I'm going to try pairing it with some of those decks, oracle decks that I've shown you. You know, I have a lot of these decks. Well, not a lot, but I have quite a few. And sometimes I know when we're trying to evaluate our collections, you know, we might say, how many, do we have something else? Do we need to bring this one in because I already have this deck? Or, you know, I already have so many of this type of deck, maybe I don't need this one. That isn't the case when I see a deck like this. I do that with other genres of decks in my collection, but with this, you know, old art, old photograph collage art decks, that's not an issue for me. So let me know in the comments below what genre of deck you can't have too many of. Okay, I think I've held you hostage long enough, but I was so excited to get this deck. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it is mine, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. If you found any value to this video, please consider hitting a like, a subscribe, letting me know all your thoughts in the description or comment box below. And with that, I will let you get on with your beautiful day. Bye for now.